Hey Doug, Sean here. How you doing?
Staying warm. How about you, Sean?
Well, good. Yeah, it is nice. It's it's warmed up a little bit, and appreciate you coming on the call again, and what is hopefully turning into a series here of some useful information. I know we sent out the last video. People really appreciated that. Today we were going to talk about selling my house because we're getting
Mm-hmm.
lots of questions if people do want to sell or thinking of selling or trying to
Yep.
maybe get convinced that they shouldn't sell their house, which is totally fine with us. But we kind of laid out some different situations here. Um, so in terms of selling, if somebody says, "Should I sell my house?" Um, what do you kind of ask them about just to begin with? I think we kind of laid out some points here.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess we've kind of defined it being in a difficult or distressed situation versus more of a normal situation.
Okay.
And we had an example just this week with Barb. She was working with a seller, and the house has been on the market for about 20 days or so, and then Barb just got the call that the seller said, well, I should probably let you know I haven't been making my payments for the last 2 months.
Oh yeah.
And that's really good information that I think sellers, I know sometimes it's a little bit of embarrassment, but they need to confide with your real estate agent or with us, for example, when we have it listed that, what's going on, because if we know the situation intimately, then we can suggest ideas hopefully for the best outcome. And so, for example, on this one, the person didn't know anything about short sales, didn't know anything about foreclosures,
Hmm.
didn't really know what they were getting themselves into, and more or less just just knew that they weren't going to make any more payments.
Okay.
And so therefore, then Barb, of course, went into high gear and started advising her on different things she should be doing, talking to attorneys, talking to tax accountants, financial planners, that type of thing. But just to say that I'm behind on payments and not tell anybody, and then all of a sudden things start cropping up that are going to crop up, it's maybe a little bit of a situation where you don't want to think about it, but if you're going to not make payments, you got to have somebody on your side to help you out.
Okay.
So if it's
So
not us, it's got to be an attorney or somebody. So you know what some of your rates are, and you're doing things in the proper procedure. So
now I know kind of a unique thing now, of course, that we're dealing with and we've been dealing with. It used to be, for instance, if you couldn't afford your payments anymore, if you had a sickness or a job loss, you would just sell your house. But we are seeing, I mean, a lot of times they go together. I don't know if you would agree. If somebody's behind on their payments, they might be upside down on their house in terms of meaning they owe more than it's worth.
yep.
So what should people do in that situation? Is there any hope, or should they just let it go to foreclosure? I know people hear about a short sale sometimes.
hmm
A lot of people don't know what that means. What do you tell people?
Well, what we're doing is we're explaining that the banks are willing to listen to any hardships you may have.
Okay.
They do have kind of a process they go through that they're actually required to go through to see if they could work with the homeowner.
Hmm.
Um, but really, to go it alone and just start off on your own without anybody kind of sitting in the background advising you is kind of difficult because you don't know some of the rules of the road. You don't know some of the things that are happening in the marketplace. So what we need to do is we need to go over all the different options that are available to them, from loan modifications to maybe doing just a deed in lieu, that type
Okay.
of thing. And there's pluses and minuses of all those, but we only have just a couple minutes to talk today. But the main thing is that you need to get more help. You need to get more information,
So
so
how
you
does
know
the short sale work then? What does that mean? How does that work?
Well, what happens is we get a buyer, and the buyer is willing to buy it for a certain price, which is less than what is owed on the property. Then We negotiate with the mortgage company to let us sell the house, and the bank will release the mortgage and get paid less than what is owed. That's called the shortage amount.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can transfer ownership. Their current owner is out of their house and on to another house or rental, and then the new buyer takes ownership, and then gets a new mortgage and such like that. So that's the short sale, because you're selling it for less than what's owed on it, and then there's a shortage amount. So you
And
might
who
sell
is
it
that?
for
Who is that good for then? Who would that be? Well, when would that be a good?
the short sale.
Mm-hmm.
There's different opinions on it. That's why you need to get all the different options, which is probably more detailed and complicated than what we want to get into right now. But in some cases, it's good for a seller. In other cases, it might not be good. So it kind of depends on each person's particular situation.
Okay.
And that's where you want to get all the basic information and then go and talk to other experts besides real estate. And that's where we come in. We say, I think you need to talk to this person, this type of a person, to get more information, so you know exactly.
Yeah, I see that. I see that as something that a lot of people, if they need to consider a short sale,
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes they don't realize it normally is. You do have to talk to more than one professional.
Yep.
It's kind of like, if you're dealing with a complex disease or something, you've got all these different specialists who kind of work in concert. So you've got the real estate professional, which is us. Hopefully to anybody who needs us, and then you've got, you probably at some point you might need to talk to an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
You might need to talk to a tax advisor for tax implications. There's just so many. I mean, I think part of what you're talking about, each person's situation is different, if I'm correct. And part of that, obviously, we need to know what the market price is of the home. But then, especially it gets complicated in terms of the mortgages.
Yep.
The mortgages, if you have a first mortgage, a second mortgage, a third mortgage,
And we do walk through that with our customers, so hopefully they're getting as much information on representing them as we can.
Yeah, but then too, a lot of people don't know now, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac owned loans, those now are starting to be negotiated a little better than some other ones, and how does somebody even know? I know there's a website where you can go to see if your loan is owned, but you might have a loan being serviced through a particular mortgage company like Wells Fargo or U.S. Bank, and here actually it's a Fannie Mae Freddie Mac loan.
Sure.
So these are kind of like some of the details that a lot of people don't know about, where we can go in and kind of assess the situation in a pretty short period of time, and that's why it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
So
I think just to summarize the difficult situation, if you are in one, contact your real estate professional. Probably is the somebody that knows a little bit about short sales and what to do with foreclosures and things like that. And make sure you get some advice there. And if that sounds good, then you can continue on with other professionals and get some much needed advice from them too.
Okay,
but then
now
also we just so that's kind of the summary there. But the main thing is to get that information. Don't just think it's going to go away magically, because it's not. Not making a payment will eventually catch up with you, and if you don't know what you're doing, things can unravel and be bad for years ahead, and you don't want that to happen. If at all possible, you don't want that to happen, and there's ways to get around that. So, summary: get some help right away.
Okay.
And just do it.
Okay. Now, what if you're not, Doug? What if you need to sell your house, but you're not in a difficult situation?